so much for having me today. I'm also joined by my colleague Julie Rogan, who is a Senior Disability Advisor for our Student and Disability Accessibility team. So Julie, did you want to say hello and introduce yourself a little bit, and then I'll introduce myself?
Okay, sorry, Em.
That's okay.
Realising that I hadn't unmuted. Good afternoon, everybody. As Emma said, I'm a senior disability advisor at Griffith, working with students right from when they enrol to when they graduate. I also work closely with our USEP team, and also we are working hard, hey Emma, to collaborate more closely with careers in the careers team so that we have the very best outcomes for our students.
Perfect. Thanks, Julie. So Julie will be helping in the chat. So if there's any questions come through, I can't see the chat while I'm delivering the presentation. However, Julie will either answer the chat, answer your question during my presentation via the chat, or she can interrupt me if she needs to and put that question forward. Otherwise, I'm very happy at the end to answer any questions via the chat function or to open up the mic to anyone that has something to ask. So I'll just start off quickly by introducing myself. So my name's Emma, and I work as part of the Careers and Employment team at Griffith University. I'm just celebrating my 1 year with Griffith, which is exciting. Before that, I worked on a federally funded program helping mature age workers increase their employability through retraining as a government funded program. Prior to that, I worked in occupational rehabilitation, helping people return to the workforce after a workplace illness or injury, and that could have been physical or psychological. And before that, I ran my own career consulting practice, predominantly as a resume writer. So I've been helping people find meaningful, sustainable employment for, over 10 years in a few different contexts. So, helping people change career or, helping mature age graduates is something I've done a lot of and that I really enjoy. So I'll get started with the presentation, but before I do, I'll just like to do a very quick acknowledgement of country. I imagine this has been done a lot of times today, but Griffith University acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we're meeting and pays respect to the elders past, present and future, and extends that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And that's on all the different lands we are in these unprecedented times where we are scattered all over Australia, I imagine. So the first thing I wanted to talk about today is career change normal? So from my time in working with career changers, I find that they often feel like it's not normal to be changing career or to be looking for new opportunities or studying new things. So before we get started into some practical aspects of, what you can be doing as a new graduate or mature age student or career changer, I just wanted to talk very briefly about career development. So career development is what Julie and I are all about, what we spend our days doing. So career development is work-related needs and preferences evolve continuously throughout our lifetime, and at the same time the world of work is continuously evolving and adapting to economic, political and social changes. So if that's ever been a truer statement than now. Okay, so career development focuses on enabling people to understand and develop their skills, preferences and manage these challenges, make good decisions about your working lives and maximise your contribution to community in which you live and work. So that's what we are here to help you with. So the disability advisors, the career counsellors or anyone who supports employability or career development functions, that's what we're here to help you with. So this is what we do every day. So yes, it's very normal to us. This is just a little bit of a statistic that came out from the Career Development Association of Australia, I think late last year. they've done some research and shown that people that work with career development practitioners are 2.67 times more likely to find work. So this is just some information to show you that career development is, a really important part of our life, navigating our careers. So just to normalise this career transition that you might be going through. So non-linear career paths are the new norm. So this is an example of a very linear career path. This is what many students I work with expect their career to look like. And this is what many, mature age clients I've worked with, across diverse backgrounds and industries. This is what people are commonly aspiring to. They're going to finish school, or finish university, they're going to get their first job, they're going to be promoted into a more senior position, they're getting closer to that dream job, they finally peak, and then they cruise their way down to retirement. And this might have been the case many years ago, where our great-grandparents, what have you, might have worked as a plumber and had a very linear career path, or worked in a factory and had a very linear career path. But these days, career paths do not look like ladders like the former slide. They're much more like jungle gyms. So a little bit like our fingerprint being unique and different to everybody. This is where we see what a normal, to use that word, career path looks like, and it's whatever your normal is, and everybody's different. So sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to aspire to this, magically straight-lined career path, and it's not realistic. So, we're looking at finishing school, then we might choose a university program, then we may defer and do some part-time work, or we might finish the program and take a year off. So all of these sort of changes and redirection is all part of our career journey. So just wanting to normalise what often career changes are aspiring for this beautiful, smooth, yellow brick road, yet it's going to be a little bit more weavy than that, and that's okay. Okay, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about job mobility in Australia, just to give you some facts and figures around what I've just said, instead of it just being some fluffy statements. So Australia's job mobility is a long way from a job for life. So it's closer to 3 jobs per decade. Today, the national average time in a job is 3.3 years. So, and based on voluntary turnover of around 15% per annum. So this plays out consistently in the life of a school leaver today, and assuming they start their working life at age 18 in a part-time role, in a part-time role. Oh, sorry, I've lost my place. In a part-time role. So then they retire when they're 75. They'll potentially have 17 different employers in their lifetime, based on 3 jobs before upskilling or career changing. So it's very normal, that we're transitioning if we're looking at, starting at 18 all the way through. So 4 decades ago, 1 in 10 workers were employed on a part-time basis. Well, today, this is more than 3 in 10. So again, just showing the mobility of the Australian labour market. So some of the increased job separation have been driven by economic uncertainties, redundancies, employers shifting recruitment to contract roles. But the biggest part of job mobility at the moment is actually voluntary by the employee. So with job moves are now currently based on employment opportunity, life balance, or personal reasons are more than twice as large as involuntary separations, such as redundancies or temporary roles. So we're choosing to be more adaptable. We're choosing to have more job mobility, those different career pathways that the previous jungle gym slide showed. So flexibility, pursuing our passions, all of those sorts of things, are reasons why we're the changing landscape of our employment conditions. So young people have always had a greater job mobility than older workers. Young people have always changed jobs more regularly. but 4 decades ago, under 25s, so under 25s, they stayed in their job for about 1 year and 8 months on average, and this is still the same today. You know, this statistic hasn't really changed over 4 decades, but what has changed is that people aged over 45 used to be in a job for over 10 years. Well, this has changed more now to about 6 years and 8 months. So there's you know, an 8% difference in those statistics. So just to demonstrate that we are becoming more mobile in our careers. Okay, so just a little activity. I actually can't see the chat using this Zoom platform, but if you just take a minute to think of a close friend or family member who's between the age of 40 and 60, and just pop a number into the chat, and how many jobs or career changes do you think that they've had? So, you know, we might think, we might be feeling a little bit awkward about changing careers or changing jobs, but when we think about the people we know that are close to us, friends, family or colleagues, just have a little think, oh yeah, actually this person who I worked with, oh, they've had about 8 jobs in the time I've known them, or that sort of thing. So just to help demonstrate that job mobility and changing careers or organisations or industries is all part of our career development journey. Did we get any numbers in the chat there, Julie, that you can jump on the mic?
Yeah. So Gail has said that she had more than 10 changes.
Yep.
Another one has said 5.
Yeah.
Caroline says about 20.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that sort of demonstrates, you know, what I was hoping to demonstrate in that, you know, it's okay to move around and have that flexibility. Did you have anything to sort of talk about, Julie, that job mobility from what you see in your practice?
I guess all I want to say is that a lot of people say to me they're concerned if they've had too many job changes, whereas in actual fact nowadays it's good sometimes to be seen as moving, because it shows an employer that you're wanting to either move up the ladder or you're looking to expand your knowledge and career. So it's often seen as a positive, not like, I guess, when I think back to my dad working for 40 years and getting a gold watch when he retired. And it was horrified when I wanted to change my job. So yeah, it's changed.
It has, hasn't it? Yeah. So yeah, thank you. Okay, so I also wanted to just share some information that there is quite a lot of support out there for mature age job seekers. So I've linked, so mature age workers are valuable to business. Yes, in my experience, does age discrimination exist where it shouldn't? Yes, but I think with the positive mindset and you know, bringing this extensive life and work experience, knowledge and skills can be a great resource for mentoring and coaching with an organisation. So here I've just talked a little bit about in 2019, there was a survey conducted by recruiters stating that mature age job seekers, what made them successful in their application? What was it that drew the employer to them? So 38%, the highest percentage was their experience and knowledge. So it's valued, you know, and it's really important for you to know that. Employability skills such as reliability, maturity, good attitude and work ethic. So these are things that can't be taught, and these are things that employers value. And if that's demonstrated throughout your career history, then that can give you an edge over other applicants. As well as technical skills and qualifications. So you've had time to hone your craft, or if you are stepping into a career change type role, you know, you bring with you many transferable skills from your previous work in addition to your new expertise that you may have studied at university or what have you. So yeah, just be encouraged to know that there are, you know, that to look at the positive sides and bring that to an employer, and that will definitely be noted. Okay.
Can I interrupt just a moment, Emma? David has said that changing jobs is far too difficult. Our government and other organisations need to improve transition ability, which I guess you would agree to. Some employers haven't quite joined the rest of the world in that transition. He just making that comment, but also he's asked, and also someone else is saying that they've wondered as well, how mature age is defined. How old is considered as mature age?
Yeah, so mature age can be 50. I know on the program I worked on, Skills Checkpoint for older workers, it was at 45. To be coming to university as a mature age student, I think is it about 25? I think, Julie, it's not. So there are
younger. I think even at 21, you can be. If you're just starting out, they will classify you as mature age.
Yes, so there are multiple definitions. I think 50 is the most common to be called a mature age worker transitioning, but really, sometimes it can be defined as not a brand new grad that's fresh out of high school, fresh out of university. It can be someone with some life experience as well. But yeah, 50 is usually
And I think too, Emma, I think it's really important not to get too hung up on your age.
Absolutely.
and be just be very good at explaining your experience and showing how that, as a mature age worker, your experience will give you, make you ready to hit the ground running.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, great. Okay, so these are just some links here that we can send these slides out later, or you can look them up. But Job Outlook is a fantastic resource that the federal government provide to everybody. I wanted to, I'm not going to talk about all of these, but I did want to talk about the skills match assessment. So I would highly recommend this for people that are looking to career change and not quite sure about their transferable skills experience and what would be suited to them. So this is an assessment that you're able to put in all your previous position titles, all the different roles you've held throughout your career. And it generates a report that tells you, what a skills match, as it's named, a skills match as to what career options may be suited to you based on your transferable skills and experience. So a lot of you might already have a clear goal of what you'd like to be doing in the future. If you'd be looking forward to you're already enrolled in a program or something, I'm guessing, if you're here today, but that's just an interesting assessment that doesn't take too long, and it could possibly even validate if you feel like you're on the right career path with what your career goals are at the moment. So this page also just has some additional resources for mature age job seekers provided by the federal government. So there's some links here that you might find helpful. I can pop them in the chat at the end if you remind me. I can hop out of this presentation mode and pop these links into the chat if anybody would like those as well. Okay, so just some additional support. So career change. So Seek tells us that making a career change can be a daunting experience, but gone are the days when most of the workforce stayed in one stable job for decades. In Australia, 57% of people have made a career change before, and 19% have done so in the past 12 months. So this is across all age groups, okay? So before making a career change, we need to sort of obviously it needs to be a very well thought out process. So we need to identify our transferable skills. We need to know what's required for the industry or role we're wishing to pursue in the future. Write down things like, what transferable skills can I bring to this new role? And I'll provide a little bit of coaching on that shortly. Consider your personality traits. What personality traits are the employer looking for? And be confident in promoting yourself to your new employer. So there's some sort of groundwork to do before going into a career change. So now we're going to talk a little bit about what are employers looking for in applicants, including mature age and career changing applicants. So overall, the workforce in Australia and globally is becoming more skilled. So the vast majority of jobs created in the future are likely to require either vocational or university qualifications. So the workforce has become more skilled, with 61% of the working population aged between 15 to 64 now holding a postgraduate school qualifications. So this is up from 39%. Okay, I just can't quite see the bottom of that slide. Okay, so this is just a little a visual to show you the proportion of the Australian workforce that now have a post-school qualification, you know, from 1998 compared to a couple of years ago in 2018. So quite a significant increase. Okay, so what else do employers value? Experience. You know, this is our age-old problem working in careers services. You know, they want a graduate with 75 years experience. It can drive us all a little bit crazy sometimes, but there are ways to, you know, work around this. So workplace experience is another important quality that employers are looking for in prospective employees. No matter what kind of job you have, you will gain experience and learn vital employability skills. So experience can be gained through part-time, casual, temporary jobs, apprenticeships, traineeships, experience placements, internships, even volunteering. So, you know, even just working in retail or hospitality while you're studying at university, you know, that just gives you so many transferable skills that you could possibly bring into your graduate role. You know, things like dealing with a diverse cross-section of the public, customer service, professional communication, following organisational policies and procedures. You know, there's so much that can be transferred from a role that you might not originally feel like is relevant to what your postgraduate career goals are. But, you know, there are many transferable skills that you can bring with you to your new vocation. Okay, so the third thing that employers are commonly looking for in applicants are employability skills. So these are work readiness skills and cover a range of qualities and skills, including personal and people skills, good work ethic, ability to work in a team. Employability skills are what employers often value the most as they're seeking someone to be a good fit for their business. Julie might even have an example of this as well, but, you know, often when an employer is deciding between two applicants, you know, they've both got the education requirements, they both have some relevant experience. It's often these employability skills demonstrated by the applicant that can be the decision maker. How well is this person going to fit into our team, in alignment with our organisational culture? Did you have anything to add to employability skills, Julie?
I was just going to say the same as you, really, Emma, that it's so important to be able to demonstrate. So a lot of interviews now, you're asked, how would you manage a conflict with a workmate, or how would you speak to a manager about something you're not happy with? All of those things are really important. And again, I think because of life experience, can be a bit easier for a career changer.
Yes.
While I'm here, I did, sorry, I'm a bit slow, everybody, on this chat, but David had mentioned about affording a career change, and I just quickly answered that. Well, I presume he meant affording a career change, that it's essential, of course, to consider that. But fortunately, it's much easier now to study at university part-time and work. And he's asking, has there been a survey asking if people would like to change career, but they can't due to circumstances, both personal and society, as well as the perceived circumstances?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there is research out there about that, but I don't have anything to quote on that now about, you know, I suppose, more financial constraints, or
Yeah.
it can even not be financial. There can be many other impacts, circumstantial, you know, from raising a family to pressures, external pressures from family, and not being supported. There are a lot of things that can, you know, be a barrier to changing career,
Yeah, and I think it's just got to be considered very well, like considering whether you want to study again, whether you might have to change state, which would be
yes,
a joke
the
at the
drop
moment.
in salary can be associated
Everywhere. So again, just really good. Do you mind if I mention another couple of questions now, Emma?
Oh, yeah, why not? Yep.
So do employers ever considering hiring mid-career professionals who have trained up post-grad as part of their graduate intake?
So did I understand that correctly? So the fact that the applicant has done some training with new graduates would be something that would increase the applicant's employability?
I think, Charlotte, and please, Charlotte, tell us if I'm wrong, but is asking if as a graduate role intake, would they be considered with postgraduate
Oh yeah, we do consider
qualifications?
postgraduate applicants for graduate opportunities. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. It depends. It depends on the criteria. Each employer is different, but yeah, there are graduate opportunities for postgraduates. Yeah.
And I've been asked if you can show the second page again.
Yes.
Previous slide to take a screenshot.
The previous slide?
Yeah.
This one?
Is that it, Peppa? I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Is that the slide you mean? Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Just to interject, so don't worry too much if you miss a slide or some information on the slide, because these recordings and slides will all be made available after the Diversity and Inclusion Fair has concluded. So we'll make sure that we can get these out to you so you have all the information in one place.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
That's great. So yeah, so in the chat, we actually should have done this while we were chatting, Julie, but in the chat, if you could just pop in some of what you think your employability skills are that are focused towards your future goals. So, you know, focused towards the role that you think you'll be applying for. So if you could just share in the chat, Julie might be able to read some of those out for me. I'll put some here as prompts, but there are others obviously that aren't here. But what do you think, what employability skills do you think that you could over time be able to promote to a future employer, you know, with some evidenced examples? You know, do you have some really great examples of contributing to a team or being adaptable? Is that something that's really going to impress your new employer? So have we got any interesting responses there, Julie?
Tamara has their determination to continue learning and succeed.
Yes, great.
Good. David's mentioned analytical, loyal, and stubbornness.
Okay, so analytical is an interesting one because I don't know if he's comfortable to share, but what is your future? What are you looking to do upon graduation? Or is that something that that might be something we'd see in a job advertisement asking for someone with analytical thinking?
I'm just waiting for David to answer that. Charlotte's mentioned resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And someone else has agreed that stubbornness is a key. Maybe it would be good to look at synonyms and see what else you could put down in a resume. Depending on the employer, they might run a mile if they think You're stubborn.
I like how you're thinking. Yeah. So persistent, those sorts of attributes, and providing evidence. So of that persistence or stubbornness, where has that benefited your employer? So that's how you can talk about that in a written application or in an interview, which we'll talk about a little bit down the track. But it's providing evidence of how that benefits the employer. So yes, that one word alone might sound a little bit have a negative context, but wrapped in a, giving an example of what you did and how that benefited the employer, all of a sudden that will become really attractive to
I agree. And I totally agree. Stubborn is really important to many employers.
Yes. And grit is a word they love at the moment.
Helen said she's been a scientist and stubborn is good. I would agree with that,
Yes.
Helen. David said that he analyzes everyone too.
Okay.
Doing chemistry and immunology.
Great. That's all.
And Jenny has said that a self-initiator, open-minded, and high EI, which is 2.
Emotional intelligence. Great, fantastic. Yeah, so starting to think about what can I offer a potential employer? What skills, experience, attributes can I bring with me? Because let's be honest, if you can't convince a potential employer that you can be an asset to their team, if you're not feeling confident about your career change, it's going to be really hard to convince them if you don't believe it yourself. So starting to work on starting to think about what can I bring across is really important part of your future success. So it's not, even if you're a few years off graduating, starting to have these thoughts about your transferability into what you like to move into. Now is the time. It's never too early. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about mastering the application process. So and Julie will be with me here, anyone who works in the space of, helping students apply for work, we are all going to use the word tailoring, targeting, all of this sort of language. So it is absolutely critical for everybody, but more so for career changes, to tailor your job application to the role. So how can we do this? These are just 5 steps, that can help you do this. So read the job description carefully. Make sure you have the skills and experience that the employer is looking for. Mind you won't have everything, but I say if you've got over 50% of what the job ad is asking for, I would encourage you to go ahead and apply, focusing on what you do have, not what you don't. So think about previous situations where you demonstrated the relevant skills and behaviours the employer requires and how you could clearly express this in your application. Tailor your application. So you must tailor your cover letter and resume to the specific employer and ensure you include keywords and phrases in your application. So many online recruiters and large organisations use ATS software, which scans resumes for keywords and phrases. It can read dates and position titles and all of those sorts of things. And often, if an employer receives 200 applicants, they might only look, a human eye might only read 20 of those resumes because the software has done the bulk first phase recruitment for them. Okay, so I could do a whole hour talk about that topic, but I'll just gloss over that. So fill out every field in the application. So if you have an online application form, it's really important to fill out everything as much as you can. This is really important information. This is their specific questions. This is what they want to know. Use STAR examples where you can. So that's an acronym for situation, task, action, result. And again, that's a whole nother hour talk about how to use the STAR method to answer behavioural based written application and interview questions, but I won't harbour on that. So,
sorry, Emma, I just thought something you might want to, a couple of people have mentioned that you might want to touch on using dates and how that can discriminate with age.
Yeah, I haven't talked a lot about that today. Yeah, so the standard resume length in Australia is about 10 years. So a resume is a sales document to sell you for your future position. It's not our autobiography. It doesn't have to include everything we've ever done. We don't want to have gaps in our career history if at all possible, if we can fill them in with, study or travel, or, if we were providing home care duties or whatever. So we aim to not have gaps. And it is okay to cut 10 year, to provide a 10-year career history, unless there's something further back than that dramatically would increase your chances of being a successful applicant for the role you're applying for. But other than that, it's usually about that 10 to 15 years is a sufficient career history to include. Okay. So some other things to make sure our job application is tailored is we need to make sure our social media platforms are on point, and that you have a positive social media presence, and then just the good old triple check content and spelling and grammar in your resume, just to make sure that's all correct. We know for sure, and Julie would have heard this before, literally an employer will dismiss an application based on a spelling mistake. Not everyone would do that, but it is something that happens, and it's also something that we can quite easily avoid. So just something to be conscious of there. Okay. Yeah. Was there another question, Julie?
No, just David putting that if an employer wants a youngster, there's nothing you can do. However, I think that you'd be surprised, David, how much it can do to show and demonstrate, as we keep saying, that you have the better skills and the better experience.
Yeah. It's not always the best applicant that gets the job, it's sometimes the best application. So you want to be both. Okay, David, so you want to be the best, have the best application and targeting it. And so some things that you can do on this slide, research the employer, industry and job. Identify the skills, personal attributes, qualifications, licenses that are essential for the job, and make sure these are all included in your written application. Think about additional skills, attributes, qualifications that the employer might consider, including industry knowledge. Okay, so this is one of my favorite resources. I have this printed and in my office. I've missed it a lot while I've been working from home, but I know this is a bit tricky to read on your screens, and it is really here more for the visual representation. So on the very left of screen, we have a marketing job advertisement, okay? In the middle, we have someone's resume, and on the right, we've got some highlight colours, so a role match, a value match, and a skills match. So I have been encouraging my clients for over 10 years to either print a job out and grab a highlighter, or more commonly these days, copy and paste the job advertisement into a Word document, pick up the highlighter function and go through the job advertisement word by word and highlight every transferable skill, experience or attribute that you have. We know that the ATS software runs the resumes against the job advertisements, looking for keyword searches, looking for keywords and phrases. And then you want to extract all of that language that you possibly can from that job advertisement into your resume. So here on this one, you can see they've got a core competency section. So that's an easy place to transfer some of those key skills, experience and attributes. Unlike this example, I would like you, instead of just saying expert in marketing research, I would like you to add evidence. So expert in marketing research acquired through 5 years experience working for blah, blah on such and such a project, or, give some evidence to your claim. Don't just state the skill or experience. And this is what will absolutely capture the interest of the employer. Your application will look like nobody else's. They'll see who you are professionally, especially if you can add some measurable results, some impact, so let's say for marketing, increased social media foot traffic by 30% in 3-month period, or, let this really showcase your skills, experience with evidence, with measurable impact statements. Okay, so this is more here for the visual. You don't need to read it, but this is one of the most important things a career changer can do is to target their resume towards the role they're applying for. So forget about what you've done in the past and your old career history resume. I want you to focus on writing a sales document. So the job ad, it's a little bit like the answers in the back of the textbook. They've given us the answers. The employer have told us exactly who and what they're looking for. They've told us. We just now need to provide evidence that we can fulfill the duties of that role through our past career history and through our academic competencies through our study. Okay, so find the employer's keywords in the job description and include these in your application. Think about your past achievements and work history to find examples to include in your application. Describe past work tasks and responsibilities using the same keywords as from the job advertisement, and leave out anything that isn't relevant to the job. So let's say you worked in a supermarket for 10 years and there's really not that much relevant. There might be some customer service and some following procedures. You know, you don't need to take up a lot of space on your resume with that. You really use whatever you might have done a placement for 3 months with university, and that can take up a third of a page telling us what you did there. Yet your 10-year career history at Woolworths, you know, that doesn't have to take up as much space. So thinking about the sequence, the most important information first, and then the relevance. So you have 2 rules: recent and relevant. Sometimes relevant surpasses recent. Okay, so highlight achievements. So we are often very shy. We don't want to be pretentious, and we don't want to promote ourselves too much when we are going through the job application process. But I really encourage you to include relevant achievements in your application documents, including statements of measurable impact. So percentage signs, dollar signs, or possibly even things like patient feedback for people in healthcare, or education feedback from if you're working in teaching, or, you know, there's always, so what was the positive outcome of my contribution, and can I put a number to that? Okay, so if possible, back up any claims you make about your achievements with evidence or facts. So maybe the sales you made, the number of calls handled, or positive feedback from customers. Okay, I'm just a bit conscious of time as well. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly touch on getting ready for an interview. You know, again, this could be a whole nother hour topic, but, you know, as career changers and mature age applicants, we do need to be really, really prepared. So we need to prepare, plan, practice for our presentation. So it's absolutely critical to practice interview questions with a friend or family member. Research the organisation, prepare questions about the job and business that you can ask at interview. This demonstrates your interest and that you are prepared. Think about your presentation and what you'll wear. Remember, first impressions count. If in doubt, check what other staff are wearing beforehand. So if you don't know what to wear, go on their organisational site and you'll see hopefully some photos to see what they wear. We always want to be dressing at the top end of the professional expectation for that employer or that industry. The employer wants you to get to know you, so be professional, but you can also have an element of friendliness and conversational language within the interview. So if you get nervous, think of topics to talk about beforehand. Have some questions, you know, about weather or traffic or what the business does, okay? So I can't talk today too much about how to prepare for an interview, but what I can say is that preparing for an interview is absolutely critical. It shows in leaps and bounds people that have prepared for an interview before going in. Interviewing is something that we are all not that great at. Okay, but it is something that we can all get better at if we practice. So I know for Griffith students, we have a fantastic resource called Big Interview that allows our students to do some online practice with artificial intelligence. I know that's that is big interview, there is usually a subscription fee, but things like that where you can actually video and record yourself and watch yourself back, practicing with friends and family, all those sorts of things will go a long way. So my message here is to prepare for an interview. Don't go in hoping to wing it. Okay, so just a little activity, thumbs up, thumbs down, if you can use the emojis in the chat box. At the moment, your current resume, is your resume targeted towards future jobs, or is it what I would call a typed up career history? So if you could give me a thumbs up in the chat if it's ready to go and start making applications with, or a thumbs down in the chat if you think it needs some more work targeting towards your next job. Julie, can you share with me, are we getting mostly thumbs up or thumbs down?
We've got a thumbs up from Charlotte. Gail, you're so right. You can change for the job applied for.
Good.
Sometimes I have, or I encourage people to have a whole list of cut and paste statements that they can do that quickly. So you can essentially have a finished resume, but just some changes.
Yes, and in those few sections, it's quite easy. Your opening statement, your career profile, or core competencies.
Tamara has said thumbs down. Helen is half and half.
Good, okay, that's good. So it's just to get you thinking and to prepare. It's okay if it's not ready to go, but you know, the purpose of today is to hopefully, you know, encourage you to go into that with a different mindset and know that you're wanting to write a really targeted document.
David has said he hasn't updated his since the start of his degree.
Mm-hmm.
Shang Feng has said thumbs down for a changed career.
Yes.
And Peppa has said thumbs up.
Good, okay. And sometimes we need multiple resumes too, and they can be, you wouldn't even think they're the same person. They can be that different. You know, I work with students that have a graduate resume ready to go for their discipline, and then look at that compared to their, you know, retail part-time work resume. You wouldn't even know they're the same person because they're just both so targeted to their industry, which is what's really important.
Gail has said she has an issue with employers passing her over to long-term self-employment history. Recommendations to get around this.
Yeah, so I do see that the self-employment curse, as it can be sometimes called. But again, I think that is overcome by these methods and this targeting strategy. So instead of thinking on your resume, what have I done in the past? Completely turn it around. Even if you start with a brand new blank Word document, what does the employer want me to be able to do? What have they told me they're looking for in the job advertisement? Bringing that across, adding evidence that I'm exactly who you're looking for. Hopefully that strategy could help you start to see some success because with a really targeted document.
And Charlotte has asked if you can recommend any good resources on adapting your resume to ATS software. And I think that David is asking what ATS is.
Yeah, so ATS, whenever I talk about ATS, everyone always has more questions. I try to gloss over it. So ATS software, there's over 200 in Australia. It's basically a system that reads resumes before humans to help with the recruitment process. It came out to Australia with the mining boom. When everybody wanted to be a dump truck driver, they were receiving thousands and thousands of applications from florists to postmen, you know, everyone wanted to drive dump trucks. So it's American technology that came over here during our mining boom. The website I would recommend, and obviously have no affiliation, is JobScan. So it's an American website, but you can actually copy and paste your resume, copy and paste the job advertisement, hit submit, and it will give you a percentage match. And let me tell you, it is, and we're looking for over an 80% match, and it is a lot harder than you would originally think. So that might be a website. Otherwise, just Google ATS software in Australia, resume tracking software, just get some information about that. But JobScan, whilst it is an American site, they're going to be telling you things like having a one-page document, which doesn't apply here. That's probably the best resource to actually see, you physically see it run your resume against the job ad that you're applying for.
Yeah, and there was one other. A question from Carolyn, which is a really good question. Is volunteering work relevant in your application resume?
Absolutely, 100% yes. So if it's relevant is the answer though. So let's say you are studying social work and you have worked in retail, you know, while you've been studying, and you might have done 3 placements or done some volunteering work with youth. That all of a sudden trumps and becomes more relevant possibly than your retail experience. You really want to expand on that, what you've contributed to, key projects you've worked on, outcomes for people that you've worked with. So absolutely, that's why you're doing it, to gain experience in your chosen field. And you can most certainly use it on a resume, and it's absolutely critical that career changes use whatever is the most, that's why I say about recent and relevant, the most relevant information. And I would put, sometimes I put volunteering, most people have it right at the bottom of the resume. I put it right. It can even sometimes go before your paid career history if it's more relevant, because we want to sequence the resume in order of relevance and what's going to get you the job.
And in the industry, it's moved up. Tamara has said in the industry building design, she believes she's passed over for younger grads that are doing bachelor as opposed to associate and are doing engineering, not building design.
Yeah, so I suppose a little bit of labour market research would be required there to see what employers are seeking. And again, is your applications targeted? Also, I've got a little bit about this. I don't know if I'm going to get through all my slides today. We might run out of time, but I do talk about networking briefly as well, and how important it is for mature age workers to leverage off your networks. Informational interviews and those sorts of things. So if you feel like you're missing out, I probably can't on this platform go into too much depth on that, but it would really be good to do a deep dive analysis into what the employers are seeking. What is it that you're missing out on? Why is it? And can you actually demonstrate competency in that slightly different skill set through what you've studied or what you've done in the past? And if so, to bring that to the forefront of your resume. But yeah, I'm not sure what university you're with, but I would encourage you, if you're a Griffith student, I would love to have an appointment with you to help you unpack that a little bit more and see if we can fill any gaps in your written application documents. If not, I'd encourage you, wherever you attend university, if you can get an appointment with one of the career development consultants, or if relevant, disability support, or someone like Julie who specialises in both, then yeah, to help get to the bottom of that.
We might just continue. I'm just conscious of time. We've got about 4 or 5 minutes left, so we'll allow Emma to continue her presentation.
Yes, I was just about to say I'm just busy answering what I can here.
Yes, thanks, Julie. Yep, okay. Okay, so just going to really quickly run through how, so what methods do employers use to recruit, okay? So 58% of recruitment is online vacancies using their own company websites, and websites such as Seek, Indeed, Queensland Smart Jobs, APS Careers. Okay, social media. So I'm consistently surprised about how many students are finding work on Facebook job pages and places like that, particularly for part-time employment, but even some for graduate employment. So monitoring your local Facebook job boards, it's free to employers, is something that I would also encourage. Newspapers has died out pretty much in the cities, but it is somewhere still in rural areas, not knowing where everyone is from here. 11% of vacancies are still advertised. So the government tells us in newspapers. So it's certainly not, I wouldn't put all my efforts into that, but it might be just worth checking that out regularly. So word of mouth. So employers ask people they know to spread the word about a vacancy, or if they know anyone who may be suitable for the job. Many employers who use this method already know the successful applicant before recruiting them. So you need to get the word out. You need to let friends, family, anyone, you know, within your circles know that you are looking for employment. And approached by job seekers. So this is otherwise known as cold canvassing. This is where students approach employers, not necessarily about employment opportunities. It can even just be about what's happening in the industry and informational interviews. So reaching out, building your networks, you know, opportunities come from relationships, not just connections. So you want to be building relationships with employers and people within your industry. So yeah, if you would just want to pop in the chat how you found your current job, and if you had to guess, where do you think you'll find your next opportunity? Will it be through word of mouth? Will it be through cold canvassing? Do you think you'll find it on Seek? And yeah, how did you find your current role if you're working, or your most recent role? So I'll let you guys pop that in the chat, but I am going to keep going because of time. So networking is just so important. As a mature age or career changer, network like you've never networked before. So you've likely worked with hundreds of people over the years and made all sorts of contacts in your industry. This is the time to cultivate those networks and perhaps reinvent yourself. Befriend on social media all those people from your long lost networks and communicate with them. Opportunities come from relationships, not just connections. Ask them how their project's going. Ask them how, you know, like me, I've just had a 1-year work anniversary on LinkedIn, and the amount of people that have asked me how I'm going, you know, but they're maintaining those relationships and connections with me, which is lovely. So, let people know. So just because you're entering a new industry doesn't mean that your existing contacts are no longer of use to you. Spread the word that you're looking to change careers, and you never know, somebody may know someone in your target industry who they can introduce you to. So don't limit yourself just to your professional networks either. You know, family, friends may also be able to point you in the right direction. You might want to have a clear out of your LinkedIn profile. You make sure that everyone in there, you know, is relevant and adding value to that platform. So do your research. If you're at a loss about who you could contact, do a little bit of research about your target industry and the professionals working within it. You can use LinkedIn to have a look at what kind of career path people in your ideal role have followed, to check out a few businesses of interest. Once you've identified influential interviews in the sector, you can go about introducing yourself, and I would recommend requesting an informational interview, which you can do a bit more research about what that is. Networking with an alumni can be very helpful, and you can find them on LinkedIn. So you can find people that have studied what you've studied, have a look at their entry point. Where did they end up after university? What was their entry point? What organisation? What was their first position title? And you can see how they've moved up. So researching alumni is really important. So LinkedIn groups are also a great place to get to know people working in the industry. By interacting with others, sharing their posts, sharing your own content and thoughts, you can strike up conversation and build relationships with professionals in your target sector. Other platforms such as Instagram and Facebook can also offer you opportunities to communicate with like-minded people. So depending on your industry, but you know, there can be some professional pages to follow. I spend all day encouraging students to ask for advice. So if you know someone who's changed career before, seek their advice. If they've been there and done it, so they may be able to give you more pointers about how you can meet more people and transition into your new sector. If you know someone who's broken into your target field, then that's even better, as they'll hopefully be able to provide you with some guidance for breaking into the industry and a bit more information about the nature of their work. So that's me done. I just managed to finish in time. I wanted to finish today by asking, what's your biggest take home from today's presentation? What strategy could you apply to your current job search or employment strategy? And then I wanted to wish you all the best with your career journey. So if you want to pop in the chat, what could you do? Is it updating your resume? Is it doing some volunteering in an industry related non-for-profit organisation to gain experience? Is it starting just to maybe journal what your transferable skills are that you can bring from your previous work into your career change vocation? So yeah, so if you could share in the chat. I'm going to exit my presentation now. Thank you so much.